Dear girlies, welcome to the Notes to Her podcast. I'm your hostess Rianne, and we are back with another episode. I don't even know what note we're on. Note 12? Girlies, I feel like it's actually been a minute. It probably has, because I know I did not put an episode out last week, so sincere apologies. The girl's been busy and she hadn't planned properly, but that's okay. Needs must. And yeah, I just didn't want to put out a rushed episode, if that makes sense either. So yeah, we're back. You've got your Friday fix. You can thank me later, it's okay. But yeah, welcome. Before we get into this episode today, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to the channel, give us a follow as well on social media, and yeah, like, comment, and definitely share as well. So yeah, we're back again. And yeah, girlies, how has your week been? What have we been up to? What have you been doing? Yeah, I feel like the days just all blur, to be honest with you. They don't, like, unless you have really something fully planned, sometimes they just blend into one, and it can be like a bit much, to be honest with you, because then I have to like recall in my brain. Anyway, so how are we all feeling? What have you been up to? I feel like my weeks and days have literally just consisted of like working, to be honest with you, and just doing different things. I feel like I need to like take a picture every single day or do like a video every single day, so then I can go through my gallery and be like, oh my gosh, yes, I did do that this week, and oh my gosh, yes, I did do that this week. But yeah, haven't been going gym as much, but that's okay. We fall off, but the main thing is we get back on, and I am getting back on. So it's been really nice to like move my body again in that way, and I notice like the difference that my body has when I don't do certain things, basically. Yeah, but I'm feeling good. I'm feeling just like ready. I've been in like go mode. And yeah, what else has happened? I finished the course. Yay! Clicks and little taps. Yes, clicks and little taps. I have finished the level 2 counselling course, which is the first thing that I needed to complete, and I'm so happy and like proud of myself, I guess, as well, that I've completed that. So waiting to find out the results at the moment, so it's being marked like the work that we've completed, and I can't believe it's finished. Like 10 weeks has literally just gone by in a flash. Like what? Mind is literally blown. But yeah, I'm really pleased to have completed the first step, and it's always a surreal feeling, isn't it, when you've got a plan, you've got a dream, you've got a goal, and you do the first thing that needs to be done for it. So yeah, I finished. Cohort was so great. It was so nice, meeting new people and bonding with them and spending time with them, being open and being vulnerable, being, I guess just, like learning new skills as well, and learning that with other people too is just always incredible. So yeah, and we had to bring in an object basically that represented our journey of the course, and our lecturer told us that maybe I think the second to last week before we was going to finish. And so it was in my mind for like 2 weeks basically from when she had told us, like just before we was finishing. And for me, as soon as she had said like, bring an object that represents your journey, automatically like I thought of a brick. Let me land, girlies, let me land. And anyway, yeah, so we also brought in food on our last day, and then we went, and we'd also like then gone round in the session, about what the object was and why that represented our journey. So that was really, really nice for people to be sharing. So for mine, it was a brick, because when you think of, I guess, building a house or building like a building, it is something where you have those foundations in place. You put the bricks down, you also put the cement. A girlie didn't have cement, so the brick is the next thing, but you build upon those basically, and you build the layers. And so that's really what it represented for me when being on that course. That was like the first stage, the first thing that I needed to complete now in this new journey that I'm doing. So yeah, that really represented it, I think, really, really well for me, to be honest with you. So I was really happy and impressed with that. And when people listened after they laughed, I was like, after they laughed at me taking the object out, I was like, see, this is exactly why. So yeah, course completed, and I think that's been everything, to be honest with you, that my week has consisted of, really. Anyway, what have you girlies been up to? Let me know in the comments. Let me know how you girlies are feeling as well. I love being open with people, and I love being honest as well. So certain things that we got to do in this life, do you know what I mean? Anyway, so in today's episode, we are talking about vulnerability, being vulnerable, being open. Big scary word. And when I'm talking about this now, I'm talking about obviously in the context of being like emotionally vulnerable, being emotionally, I guess, open with people that you trust and you feel safe with. So as always, every episode, I always give a definition, and that's not going to go amiss in this one, to be honest with you. So what is vulnerable? What is vulnerability? I'm going to kind of probably use those things interchangeably, to be honest with you. But being vulnerable means a person that is exposed to the possibility of being attacked, harmed, or damaged. Now, very quick, very easy. There weren't really many keywords that stuck out for me other than, I guess, exposed. But when I think of the connotations of vulnerability and being vulnerable, again, in this context that I'm talking about today, the word exposed basically came to mind as well. Certain synonyms came to mind. And other things that came to mind was weak and also at risk. Now, those had always also been my thinking patterns around being vulnerable, being open. And, you know, I've spoken before in previous episodes about how last year was, you know, quite an eye-opening moment and time for me with a lot of things. And I also realized the power of being vulnerable, the power of vulnerability as well. And I'm still beginning to learn and accept that being vulnerable doesn't make you weak. Which is hence why I titled it Power of Vulnerability today. So I thought of vulnerability as something that makes me uncomfortable. Like, I was someone that definitely did not want to be perceived in a certain way. You know, people that know me very close are I'm kind of someone that essentially kind of like, I'd like to say defense mechanisms kind of like in place, or a bit more of a guard maybe, or, you know, seem like I have it all together, take on lots of responsibility, know exactly what I'm doing, very organized, very like, guess type A, like kind of a person basically. What else? Yeah, definitely a type A person, 100%. Sorry. Like, I need to know what I'm doing when I'm doing it. I'll organize it. I'll take control. I'll take lead. Not something where it's something that I do purposefully, but I think that is genuinely just my personality, genetic makeup, DNA, all that business, all that jazz. And so the perception of vulnerability was something that made me uncomfortable. You would not know. Crying, ew, vom. Like, no. No way. Show my weaknesses, ew, no, vom. No way. What do you even mean? Things like that, basically. Talking about feelings. Like, even now I'm uncomfortable. I'm showing discomfort on my face because the prospect of that is so highly no. And even me sharing this now with you girlies, not even just you girlies, I'm saying it as though it's like a crumb of a corner in the internet, like I'm literally putting my whole business out there, is being vulnerable. Me saying and showing personal stories each episode, and with yourselves, is me being vulnerable, and has definitely shown things in a different light for myself and to myself as well. And so the thinking behind it has changed. I no longer see it as something, and it shouldn't be perceived as something where the person who is being vulnerable is weak, or is, I just feel like the perception of them shouldn't change to a negative one, basically, is the long and the short of it. And I think it's something where there's a lot of people that also do the same thing, that the prospect of vulnerability, the prospect of being open, being exposed, quote unquote. I was on a call with someone literally today, and they had said, they'd used the term, I'm about to expose myself. And I was like, hear it, valid. However, if we flip the script and change it into something different, it's just you being open and vulnerable as well, which is such a powerful thing, because getting that off, that is your truth that you want to speak about. And it does help change and flip the script 100%, because once you flip that, it's like, actually, okay, there shouldn't be anything stopping you, basically, from being vulnerable and being open. However, also on the flip side, it's about doing that with the right people that you feel safe and trust 100% to be able to do so. I think a lot of people as well also don't like the aspect of being, vulnerable, because you're also at risk. Like the definition had said as well, is something where the possibility of being attacked, harmed, or damaged. It's not something where it's a physical, harm or physical damage, but psychologically, emotionally, we fear that as people. Natural, again, fight, flight, or freeze response. And as people, as humans, we are going to have defense mechanisms, because no one likes to feel uncomfortable or have this level of discomfort where, I'm going to keep using the word exposed. There's a risk there, basically, of people seeing you at your core for not the persona that you put on and the front that you put on, but the person that you are beneath those layers, basically, that you put on. Again, not calling anyone two-faced or fake, or myself that either, but I think as people, we are naturally someone that wants to put on a front, and we are scared to let people in. We are scared to show sometimes our true selves, out of fear of judgment, out of fear of, being hurt, out of rejection, out of that form of harm, those kind of damages that could potentially be done by being vulnerable, being open. And I think that is why, as people, we tend not to do that, and we tend not to want to kind of put ourselves out there in that way. We also, I feel like, tend to bottle things up, which is a defense mechanism, which I will touch upon in another episode. Those things are something that are, I guess, I don't want to expose too much. Girlies, I don't want to expose too much. But there is something that would come as a form of a defense mechanism when you are, I guess, younger, in those, or at any stage in life, really. It doesn't even have to be when you're younger, but at those moments where you do feel threatened, or you feel like you're in danger, or things like that, or feel like you are in a vulnerable position to being hurt or rejected or anything like that, you are going to end up instead bottling things up, and not want to expose any of those things. But I think after a while, it kind of like gets to a point, right? So like, as I was saying, for my story about vulnerability, again, still something that I'm getting used to doing, the cracks eventually begin to show. It's not something that you can keep on the front for very, very long. And I've said this a few times now to, like my friends and things like that, especially recently, it's something where when people talk, listen, because they begin to expose or say certain things that you're like, okay, I got you now and I understand you better. And whether or not they realize it, I think sometimes as well, people can be vulnerable and open despite the conversation not being a very deep, long, big conversation in that way. Yeah, after a while, the cracks begin to show. It also gets tiring, I think, as well, holding things up and bottling them up and keeping things at the surface. I don't know if that's just me, girl. If that is just me, then that's okay. But if it's not, then let me know. But it can get so tiring sometimes, this ties hand in hand with defense mechanisms. So I'm trying to hold it in because I'm so excited for the next episode. But it gets tiring, basically. It also gets boring, not doing that and not being vulnerable. I feel like sometimes as well, it's something where because you don't know how to, we're not used to doing that. I think as a society, there's also a lot of, I guess, shame, quote unquote, that can come around being that you are fearful of what people are going to say, especially if you do that online and you are more open about it in public spaces and with the public and online on social media as well. There is a bit of shame and lack of empathy and lack of sympathy around people sharing their stories vulnerably, and it can get lonely as well, keeping things all to yourself, not sharing your struggles. But there is so much power in being open, peeling back the layers, understanding oneself more, sharing that with people that you trust, and like loved ones that that you feel safe around doing so as well. One of the few reasons as to why we should become comfortable being vulnerable with others is freeing. I know times where I've bawled my eyes out, bro. Like, I've actually bawled my eyes out, being vulnerable, being open, like in that way. I keep repeating those same words because it's actually true, and I'm trying to ingrain it in my brain as well. But despite it being uncomfortable, it is something where afterwards the sigh of relief or the weight that is lifted off the shoulders by doing that, you've kind of like released the shackles on yourself that you didn't even know was there, to be honest with you. I think as well, doing that also encourages others to do the same. Like, I think of it almost like a yawn. When you yawn, the next person in front of you is going to yawn, especially if they're watching you locking eyes and you've yawned, the next person's going to yawn. It's kind of like that domino effect. Although it may not be instantaneously, it will be eventually. And the more that it's done, the more the next person will feel comfortable also being open in that way. There's a strength in it. Same way how I've been saying there's a power in vulnerability, there's also a strength in it. It's not something that is a weakness. It's definitely a power. Things that I feel like had been kind of like shamed, especially like within the Afro-Caribbean community, of making sure that we have everything together basically and not expose any weakness or cracks or issues that we may have, and anything like that is shameful. I think there's instead a strength in that. Like, thank you actually for being open and showing me that you're not perfect or that you also have struggles going on. That's helpful. That makes me want to do the same. That makes the next person want to do the same. And also facing it. Woo! Who else likes to bury their head in the sand and pretend that things are normal and all okay? I know I do, but instead, when you talk about it, you actually face it. And I know I've spoken in other episodes about facing emotions and facing the hard things and not procrastinating as well about it. It's a freeing feeling. It's actually liberating. It's actually empowering. It's actually strengthening, because now you realize, oh, okay, well, if I can face that and if I can do that, then let me do something else instead that will also help me too. And you get comfortable by doing that too. And then lastly, it helps to build connection. I think maybe I potentially touched on that earlier. But the same way how you're able to get others to do the same, that helps to build the connection, within the friendship or the relationship, and realizing actually, yeah, that person is doing that and I'm able to help them in that way, and vice versa as well. It's amazing what happens when people are able to communicate and be open and, I guess expose themselves in that way in the naked light. It's the same thing as to what I was saying in the previous episode as well about seasons changing, and I use the same kind of terminology. And if you haven't checked that episode out, definitely check that one out as well. That's note 11. But yeah, being exposed, being bare, being naked in that way, emotionally and psychologically, is more freeing and strengthening than we realize, to be honest with you. So I think it's about asking ourselves certain questions. Ask yourself, and I'm gonna ask myself too. When was the last time, I guess, you were vulnerable, and what stops you from being that? Is it fear? Is it you don't know what's going to come afterwards after you do that? Is it you don't like the thought of it? Is it discomfort? What is it that stops you from being vulnerable with, loved ones? That really helps to unpick a lot of things and unpack them too. Unpick and unpack. And I think it's really important to also highlight the difference between being vulnerable and also oversharing. Thin line, don't get me wrong. There's a thin line, girlies, but it's important to do that for sure. I know the difference between them. I feel like oversharing is kind of giving all the nitty gritty details to someone that you wouldn't really go to for advice, or yeah, there's a difference. And so being vulnerable is with someone that you trust, that won't say something, or won't judge you in a way, or in any way. Yeah. And so yeah, that's it, girlies. We've come to the end of the episode. Wah, wah, wah. I don't know why that came to mind. So before we end the episode, as always, if you haven't already, please like, comment and subscribe. Please share. Hit the notification button below as well, so you do not miss when another episode comes out. I'm telling you off. I was pointing my fingers. Apologies. And yeah, give the Notes to Her podcast a follow if you haven't already on Instagram. The handle is notestoher.pod. And if you want to follow my personal account, it's Rianne Walker, but instead of an E and Walker, it is an X. Yeah, that's on Instagram. And yeah, I'll see you girlies in the next episode. Loves ya.